Today we're going to review how to make a scatter plot on Excel. As a reminder, you do need to have your data entered into Excel in order for this to work. Notice that I did my independent variable first, which in this case was whatever you were controlling. I was controlling the location of the weight in my box. And then the dependent variable, your force, should be listed second. If you have your data in those correct positions, you're going to go ahead and click and drag to highlight them. And then you'll need to go to the Insert tab. And we're going to choose, under Charts, a scatter plot. That creates our graph. And then remember, you've got a couple of different ways you can go about editing. You do need to make sure you have titles and axis labels. You can use, one option would be to click on the little plus sign here, and you can add those different pieces. You also have the option up top, you've got Chart Tools, Design and Format. Allows you to do all sorts of changes to the visual appearance of your graph, and you can also add chart elements over there. So take a minute right now, go ahead, add your chart titles and your axis titles. Okay. At this point, you should have your titles and labels on your graph. After you have your titles and labels, the next step is going to be to add a trend line. And just like we did with the axis labels in the title, you can access those by adding a chart element. Now, trend line is at the option near the bottom. You might want to click the arrow over to look at a couple of different options. So far this year, we've been using linear trend lines, which is when your data is constantly changing at the same rate. But I'm noticing when I look at the linear trend that some of my data points, especially at the beginning and end, aren't very close to that line. If you notice that you're not following that line very closely, you might look at what we call an exponential data set instead. You have an exponential data set when the rate at which your dependent variable is changing is not constant. And so in this case, when I look at that exponential, I notice for mine that I seem to follow that pattern a little bit more. So it's up to you which one you choose. Just go with whatever fits your data set better. So I'm going to choose an exponential one. And once you have that trend line in place, remember that we can look up the equation for the trend line. Okay, you've got a few options for how you can format the trend line. One option would be to right-click on it and do Format. Or if you've already got that menu open off to the side, I like to just go to this third option over here, Trend Line Options. And we want to be able to display the equation on the chart. We also want to display the R-squared value. So keep in mind what these things measure. Okay. So the equation tells us the mathematical pattern we're following, and the R-squared value tells you how close your data points are to the trend line. Remember that a value close to 1 is good for the R-squared value. So 0.979 is pretty close. I would take that as a good sign. From here, this step is complete. You're done with the Excel. So make sure you save this, and you're going to end up printing this off and putting it in your engineering notebook.